What's up, friendos? Chris DeLeon here of Gam Keto, and I'm in my kitchen. It's been a while since we've made food together. It's also been a while since I've made a YouTube video. I figure, why not knock out both at once? This is actually the same sort of idea. You know, GDC is around the corner. One of the networking tips there is to try to avoid eating lunch alone when you're out at a conference, an event, whatever, because you got to eat anyway. You're already not sitting in a talk or a seminar or workshop, so you may as well find somebody, be like, hey, you want to meet up, grab food. I've met some pretty cool people that way. Anyway, let's get started. I'm vegan, and some of y'all take an interest in what's he making. So let me just set you up. I'm going to mostly do this as we go. Again, I know you're here mainly for vegan recipes. I just took some olive oil, put a little bit in a pan. I know it's going to be hard to see from there. Chopped up a green pepper. I like to chop these up in advance. Right when I get them, I chop them up, throw them in Tupperware. Makes it easier to use throughout the week. I got one block of tofu, and you'll see this plastic thing it's in is called a press. Probably shown you this before, but I know it's been a while since I've done a cooking video. Ooh, my refrigerator's set a little chilly, so it kind of freezes, and that can be a complication, but I'm just going to tear those off. But basically all I did there, right, I took my block of tofu right out of the package, same kind of normal tofu blocks you see in hopefully most grocery stores around you. And I cut it up into kind of 4 each way, you know, 4 this way, 4 that way, including 4 flat ways to try to get, what would that be, 64 little squares? Sounds right. Anyway, like I say, my refrigerator froze some together while they were connected. That actually can be fine. I've literally actually seen a tactic where if you press tofu, freeze it in like a Ziploc bag and let it thaw, that can actually affect the texture and make it a little bit more meat-y. Not that that's necessarily the goal, but for some people, they prefer that texture. So it's an actual strategy, and we're just going to run with it. Throw it right in there. I've also got some Bangkok peanut sauce. I like Thai food, so easy to work with. Got some nutritional yeast seasoning. Since I'm vegan, this has got some stuff in it, easy to use. Again, like this might not be in the spice rack area of stores, but if you ask around, it's usually somewhere, even in non-health grocery store places. And I've got some roasted peanuts. I might not go too overboard on these. They add a lot of salt and sodium to it, but easy kind of mix it up. Feels a little more like I'm having a restaurant meal instead of just me throwing together lunch stuff. I'm going to throw the heat on medium to medium high just to heat it up and then probably lower it down a little bit. Although I'm stir frying, so high heat makes sense. I also want to clarify, I don't know what I'm doing, right? I don't think I'm a good chef. I don't think you should run a restaurant based on what I tell you. But I am a person who feeds himself every day and has for a long time, so here we go. I'm actually going to grab a plate to kind of have his workspace, maybe even a bowl, just so I can separate these little cubes. And even if they weren't frozen together, I would. And again, let me show you about the size I'm working with. Some people like theirs bigger, smaller. That's about the size I go with, kind of like coins. Just because I find if I don't separate them out first after being pressed, then they tend to stick together and they don't get cooked on all sides as nicely. Speaking of which, you know, if you don't have a press, no big deal. Don't be depressed about it. You can literally just get like a cutting board and put some books or a pot or some heavy stuff on top, is often what people show doing. The press is really, I mean, I say investment. I've been using the same, I don't know if it's 40 bucks, 50 bucks, whatever, but I've been using the same plastic metal spring press at least a decade. So, you know, if you think about it per year, if you plan on eating tofu, pretty sensible investment on a kind of per year cost. They hold up, they last, easy to wash, easy to use. Just makes it a little less messy. Because otherwise, I remember when I was in college and like I would try to stack books and heavy stuff on the tofu, and you know, you put paper towels above and below it to soak up the water when you're pressing it that way. But all right, so I've just separated them out crudely, right? I'm not picky. I'm not going for any kind of awards. If stuff gets between food, whatever. I'm gonna keep my hands dry. And I can tell the oil's ready when it starts to kind of move around more looking like water. When you first put oil in the pan, obviously it moves a bit more like molasses because it's still cold. Once it moves around a little more liquidy, ready to go. You don't need to go any further. And, you know, you could just dump these in there. Sometimes a little bit of oil will splash up on your hands. So you don't need to, but just to be prudent, I'm going to use an UV glove, Kevlar, etc. to drop these in there. Woo! And depending on the shape of your pan, it might be easier to slide them in off the side. Also, my long sleeves Pac-Man's protecting me today. Probably messing with our audio quality a bit that I'm frying this. And I'm just using a spatula to break it up a little bit. I know you can't really see in there, but you probably don't need to. I'm just putting them in there for now. And all I did there, like I say, broke it up, moved it around, kind of stirring it a bit to try to get oil on more sides of it. One of the things I like about being vegan, right, is that I can actually eat, and granted, even if you're not vegan, just eating tofu in general, is that I can eat this stuff right out of the package. Sometimes, like, this case it was a little bit frozen, so I wouldn't feel like doing it. But occasionally, I have a hard time of, like, do I have enough tofu left over after I've been eating it as I put it in there, just because it's good right out of the package. Easy to eat. I tend to get the stuff that's kind of mostly firm or medium firm, extra firm even. I just find it easier to cook without it falling apart, like the silky stuff. Silky stuff also seems a little bit more like a dessert texture. And I use huge scare quotes on dessert because I told a friend that and he was basically said, I don't know what desserts are anymore. Maybe he's right. Alright, so we're just going to let it sit for a little bit. And this is, I know, is one of the hard parts of kind of getting comfortable with cooking as to like, hey, how do you know when it's done? You kind of don't. Again, the nice thing, you can eat it as soon as it comes out, so what's the big deal? What's the rush? Moving it around, just trying to get it a little more even. I see some pieces kind of stacking up on top of each other in there. I'm going to spread them around a little more with my spatula. Try to get more surface area touching the pan. I've caught a couple more pieces still stuck together. I'm just going to cut those apart with the spatula. One of the things you can look for when you're trying to decide if you need to flip some pieces is, this probably goes without saying for a lot of you, but if you're seeing a lot of kind of raw, uncooked sides, right, that means that it's still cooking the opposite side. So if you flip it and you still see a lot of raw upsides, either keep rolling it or flip those manually or whatever. You want to be seeing cooked sides. That's how you know you're getting kind of both sides of it. I am going to season this a bit in the pan in terms of I'll put the stuff on there. You'll see a lot of folks advise against that. It can obviously wear and tear on the pan over the years if you've got salt and stuff scratching around there. But really, I'm only putting in nutritional yeast, which is not scratchy. It's a little bit of Thai sauce, which I actually kind of want to cook onto it a little bit. It's one of the easy things to do with sauces. Also works with barbecue sauce. If you put it in there while it's cooking, it kind of, I don't know, cooks to it. That's probably not the word. I'm going to take my, my cut up bell pepper. It's just, you know, not a whole lot of it. Just throw it in there. And same thing as the tofu, right? It's safe to eat right out of the package / right after it's chopped. So it's not like with meat products where I'm worried about if I don't get it to the right temperature, is it safe to eat? How long does it need to be in there? That said, because the government shutdown, lots of produce isn't being inspected. So, danger zone. Life on the edge today. Stirring it up. In that case, I just stirred it up because having put the green peppers in there, of course they were on top of the tofu, they weren't getting the pan time. So stirred it around, got some green peppers underneath. And yeah, kind of give it another moment. I may actually separate out how many peanuts I want. Got a phone reminder, I've got a work call right after I prepare this food. So thanks for being with me, my little midday lunch. I'm just gonna, okay, so like I got a little partial handful, maybe 2 handfuls. And like I say, I'm really not going for like a heavy on the peanuts situation. It doesn't take a lot of peanuts. And in fact, if you ever looked at serving size on peanut things, it's like what? 1/4 cup is already quite a bit of fat, sodium, etc. It can be healthy. It just doesn't take many peanuts to make a big difference. So already, just by dropping in 2 small handfuls, I got small hands, wrestler hands, it's already going to kind of impact the dish overall flavor, nutrition, how heavy it feels in my stomach. Just going to throw these in there. And these are just roasted peanuts with sea salt. So again, a little bit of salt in there, but I expect it's going to be fine. Rolling it around. Somewhere, there's definitely someone out there who like cooks better than I do who's watching this and is like, oh no, what is he doing? Don't mess with it so much, or mess with it more, or I don't know. But hey, my video. You like my shirt, by the way? I really like this shirt. New shirt. Well, shirt's not new. New to me. Alright, so I'm going to, my thinking here, right? I could put in the nutritional yeast first, or the peanut sauce. Argument either way. I kind of feel like I'm going to put in nutritional yeast first, because the peanut sauce is kind of sticky. put it in there after it's kind of a chance to distribute this. The oil, of course, also going to stick to it a little bit. Whew. Just throwing it in there. And, you know, again, thing with this, you can have a lot, you can have a little. Doesn't really matter, not a huge deal. Like I said, I'm not doing it for flavor so much as nutritional purpose. Just got stuff in it that I need in me. A little bit of peanut sauce. I'll pour that in there. There we go. Mix it around liberally because I want to make sure that it's kind of spread around a little bit on everything, right? I want big old clumps on some things and nothing on others. Now another thing, right, I might do, today, you know, I'm doing the peanut sauce. Other days, right, you might put a little bit of, where is it? Other days, put a little cornstarch on it, throw it around, mix it around in there, then cook it and kind of a little more breading on the surface. I find that's especially good if I'm going to throw General Tso's sauce in there. I'm going to do stir fry with like soy sauce, teriyaki, etc. I'm going to go and put this back in the refrigerator. My peanut sauce. Honeymoon is in Thailand, so positive associations. Stir it around. Speaking of which, we just had our 1-year wedding anniversary not too long ago, just a couple months or so. That was exciting. Thrilled about that. And at this point, you know, it's basically could be done at any given moment. I could eat it right now. I can give it another minute or so. Just depends upon kind of how I feel like having it. If I had more time, if I'd already made rice or something, I might sometimes have this with rice. Obviously, it kind of nice to mix up what you're eating, but just kind of fitting in a lunch before my next work call, so won't be a big deal. And yeah, basically 1 block of tofu plus this other stuff, you know, the green pepper, the peanuts. I find kind of a good 2 servings, so I'm going to put half of it in a Tupperware for another, I don't know, maybe this evening or tomorrow lunch, and then eat the other half right now after this. And that's kind of it. You know, like I said, I know you're mainly here for vegan recipes and vegan cooking, so you're welcome. And while you're here, I just want to say, too, that thanks to those of y'all, we've had quite a few people joining Game Keto Club. That's been really fun. We've actually hit our rate limiter now 4 times in a row. Next frees up tomorrow morning, 11:30 a.m. Pacific, which is a day before our online meetings. And I'm making all kinds of upgrades and improvements in Game Keto Club to our onboarding system, including several that it's a little too early to talk about, but I've been sort of informing that with data. We've been surveying our members about what questions they have when they're new, what obstacles they run into, so that I'm making sure I'm kind of building a system that addresses those even better than we already did. We've worked for years without that stuff, so already we have is worked with people, making it work even better for even more people. And yeah, so again, thanks to y'all who've been joining Game Keto Club. Excited to be building some games together. This is basically done, though. Might give it one more stir. Even though the heat is off now, kind of let it sit for a second, and then I'll put half into the same bowl I used to separate my tofu, other half into a Tupperware container, and that's it for my lunch today, and maybe lunch tomorrow or dinner tonight. Thanks as always, and I'll have another video for y'all soon.